Minister, I want to ask you to clarify what are we doing in relation to giving power or something to somebody or some person in relation to mass for telecommunications mass. And the other one thing is to clarify about POing land for along the sea, as I understand it, something about acquiring land one way or another. I want you to clarify that, and I want you to explain as well then, how is it that where there is a mast and could satisfy a lot of people that don't have RTE cover and for over 8 years, and he's still demanding a TV, that they have a TV license. How can he explain what's going on?
I'm afraid the Minister can't provide TV services. It's not part of his brief.
Well, they're being taken to court for not having a TV licence, and they have no cover whatsoever.
With Minister Martin.
In Amendments 1 to 18, the first grouping, you asked the question about reclaimed land, right? About the maritime area. I didn't respond to you. That's one of your questions there. All that is doing is bringing reclaimed land under the definition of land. That's what we were doing, and that's been dealt with, just so there's no, and it doesn't, basically that's what that does, okay? What I was mentioning in relation to masts, and I think I think most people would welcome this, because we've seen this in some instances, that Amendment 26, that's the one I'm referring to in this grouping, adds a regulation making power for the Minister, whoever that is, me or whoever that is, to prescribe certain classes of licences requests as requiring public notification. So, and using the example of, this was raised in fairness to the Shannon committee stage. I think we've all seen instances of this as well, and that's why we listened at committee stage right the way through Dáil and Shannon. It was raised as on foot of concerns at the Shannon committee in relation to telecommunications masts and ensuring that there's a public notification process for such licences. That's what Amendment 26 does.
Thank you, Minister.
The other issues about RTE have nothing to do with me.
Clarification on something you said there in relation to giving power to the Minister for I would assume that is to increase the height of mass. I know of 2 individual places in Kerry, in Kilgarvan, what is adjacent to the school, and back an inch, what is adjacent to a private residential house, only feet away from it, and the people have been objecting already. So you're going to allow, is this to allow mass to go higher without giving people a proper chance to raise their concerns with them, because this is what have happened on both places, and I'm very concerned about that. And just to re-clarify about reclaimed land, because there's 2 types of reclaimed land, as I understand it. There's one where farmers reclaim land, drain it and improve it. I did a lot of it myself. And then, if it is reclaiming land from the sea, if they reclaim land from the sea or moved out land, I wanted to differentiate what we're talking about.
Thank you.
As I understand it, the providing, or we said the administrating of our Section 5 meant that the local authority and the elected members had a say in that. So this is giving over the say of, to the Minister of the day now. Is that correct?
No. Well, here, the Minister will explain, please.
I'll come back in. Just firstly, with Deputy Matthews and members, when we started the debate as well, I just want to commend Deputy Matthews and his role as chairperson of the Joint Directors Committee, specifically in relation to this bill and the manner in which the committee stage was carried out, but not just in this bill. We've got a very significant pieces of legislation that you've chaired the committee, and we've managed to get through, like the Affordable Housing Act, the Marine Planning Act, the Land Development Agency Act, and now this once in a generation piece of legislation here. And you'll see from some of the changes that you've referred to, Amendment 20 and 21 came directly from those discussions. And I've outlined to members earlier on as well, even with regard to the pre-legislative scrutiny, how 2/3 of those of the matters raised through that were incorporated as well into this bill. So we've done our very best to be constructive right the way through. Others might have a different view, but I think the facts will be borne out in that. So I too I'm pleased to bring forward amendments 20 and 21 in relation to the environmental NGOs, and thank Deputy Matthews for his support and his input into ensuring that we do this. And just for the avoidance of any doubt whatsoever, this isn't giving anyone any permission to override the, about heights of masts or anything like it. This is the very other things, to make sure that people are notified in licence applications, so that a minister for certain licence applications can actually ensure that there's public notification around that, so that the amendment is made, as I said, we just gave the example of telecommunications masts, but Amendment 26, it adds a regulation making power for the minister to prescribe certain classes of licence requests, and they'd be defined within the regulations as requiring public notification. So it would mean that if, I've used the example of a telecommunications mast, that when we bring forward the regulations, that if someone makes an application for the licence, that there would have to be public notification around that regard. So it would mean that people would know about it, and that's only right and proper. So I think this is a change that, on the basis of what you've said in your contribution, is one that you should welcome. Another matter I didn't get to respond to earlier on, but your colleague Deputy Michael Healy-Rae and yourself were raising issues about centralisation. Like, one of the significant amendments that we're bringing forward is a new governance structure for the Office of the Planning Regulator as well. They're the amendments that we brought forward, which I flagged at committee stage as well, and they're brought forward. And many of the amendments, and people talk about the number of amendments in this 3-hour slot, are simply consequential amendments, changes from one act to the name of this bill. The way that some members are going on here, you think these are substantive, all substantive amendments that have never been flagged before. That's actually not the case. I think those like Deputy Boyd Barrett, to be fair to him, who's engaged in this bill right the way through, everything we've been transparent about right the way through this. But if we were to slow down this process to the pace that some members wanted here, we wouldn't have this legislation passed for 5 years.